5 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Lasker. First of all, I want to thank all the speakers from all the parties that have spoken, mainly in favour of the bill, and while the Labour Party have said they've have some reservations about it, the issue is clear that the vast majority of people who live in and work with people in rural Ireland understand that this is a problem that needs a solution. And in fairness, Minister, you've said that yourself, and so have many of your colleagues when I speak to them about this, and they understand that this needs a solution, and it doesn't need a solution, in a year's time or 2 years' time. It needs a solution now. And it's now we need to bring this into practice. I also want to thank my colleagues from Leitrim that came here this evening, Pádraig Fallon and Shana Logan, and particularly I want to thank Frank Davitt, who's a planner in North Leitrim, who deals with this all the time. And earlier on this evening we had a little presentation in the AV room, and he put up the map of the country and he showed the areas where the soil was heavier. And while Leitrim in the northwest particularly bad, also down into County Clare, parts of County Cork, parts of Donegal, even parts of your own county, Minister, has areas in it where this problem will come about. But you see, it's in a county where it is the majority of the land where it hits this problem. Really, it is most acute, and that's particularly in County Leitrim. Now, you mentioned that you have spoken to people in Leitrim, and many of your own councillors in Leitrim, and people from Leitrim County Council, and how they've been trying to find a solution, and some of the solutions have been very expensive. Now, the reason why they have been so expensive, Minister, and it's important to point this out to you, is because up until now, the solution has been to try to achieve zero discharge. And when you try to achieve zero discharge, you end up with a system which is going to be extremely expensive, because an awful lot of the expense goes into checking, is it actually zero discharge? What we want to do is get away from zero discharge, allow discharge, but allow the discharge of a completely treated effluent, which is to bathing water standard. And it is clear that the licence can, if you like, condition that as a grant of the licence. The wastewater licence will then be a tool that government can use to guarantee that the water will be treated to the highest possible level. In the Minister's speech earlier on this evening, he went through a lot of stuff, and to be fair, I know from past experience, most Ministers' speeches, it's written for him and handed to him. An awful lot of the stuff in it was irrelevant to what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a specific issue, and the specific issue is about where a percolation test fails and the EPA guideline says you can't get planning. And what we want to do is come up to a solution that we can get planning, and that where planning is appropriate, not everywhere, where it meets all the other conditions, that people can get planning and can live in a rural area. I know you understand that. But for some reason or other, there's a couple of officials in some department or other around you that seem to be telling you that we have to find a way of blocking this, because it won't look good from a European perspective. We have sent the EPA guidelines out to Europe. This does not conflict with those guidelines. In fact, it enhances them. It comes up with a solution that we can all work with. The issue of one-off housing, and it was mentioned earlier on about whether you're for or against one. I don't think that we can have an animal farm attitude to it. All one-house housing good, all one-off housing bad. It's where appropriate, it's where it works. It has to meet the environmental needs, the needs of the community, the needs of society in general. And that's how it has to work. So, whether it's people putting up a block just as some ideological fixation they have, that one-off housing is bad, people need to understand that that can't be the case, any more than all rural or all urban dwelling is good or bad. There's a mix required, there's a balance required, and we need to restore that balance. And I just want to give you a couple of examples, Minister. A few years ago, a couple from Dublin inherited a piece of land not that far away from me, and they came to me at the time because it was from a relative they inherited, and they wanted to get planning permission. And both of them, I imagine from talking to them, they were very strong supporters of the Green Party, because they had this vision that they were going to come down and build this ecological house, and they were going to have a grass roof on it, and they were going to have an organic garden, and they were going to produce organic vegetables, and they were going to have this magnificent lifestyle. And then they went to the council, no planning. Not a hands, go away, you're not allowed here. And in a few years later, they had to sell the land and disappear. And those people were going to enhance that community, but they weren't allowed planning on it. In my own parish of Ahavas, sorry? No, it was refused because they couldn't pass the percolation test because the soil was dense. No, that's what I said, but that's the reason why. That's the reason why. That's the reason why. They were refused because of the EPA guidelines. Sorry, Minister. The other example I'll give you is in my own parish of Ahavas. There is no town, there is no village. It is a rural parish with approximately 600 people scattered over 20 square kilometres. The school is a 3-teacher school. Next year it's going to go down to a 2-teacher school. The football club is under pressure because we don't have enough children in the parish. There's at least 10 families from the parish that want to move back and build houses and live in the community, and they can't do so because they can't pass the percolation test. Now, Minister, we need a solution to this. And what I'm offering here, and I want to work with you and work with the government to produce a solution that works for those families. We have a similar situation in the neighbouring parish of Drumryan, a rural parish with no town either. Also in Gortletstra, a rural parish with no town either. That's the case in many areas across the whole country. To conclude, Minister, you have put forward a proposal to kick this down the road for a year. You know, in truth, whilst this goes through committee stage and all the stages in here, the most of that year will probably be passed. So there's no need to do that. And I would appeal to you, Minister, to withdraw your amendment, to support the bill, to work with everyone else, as everyone else in this House is on board on this. Work with us all and come up with a solution to solve this problem for everyone.